Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we'll be talking about blockchain and securing cryptocurrencies. I'm sure before now, many of us have heard about cryptocurrency before. We spent cryptocurrency before, we hold cryptocurrency before, and also we have lost cryptocurrency before. So in this conversation, we are discussing about security issues around blockchain technology, and in much focus in the use case of cryptocurrency. So joining me to discuss this topic, we have Bokbola Kayode, and we also have Brinsley. But I'll ask them to please introduce themselves and tell us their relationship to this topic. Brinsley first, ladies first.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Brinsley Kaimba. I'm a former membership director at Isaka chapter and also a cybersecurity manager at PwC Kenya. My experience with blockchain and cryptocurrency is mainly from a user perspective. I want to call myself an investor, an early investor in blockchain, but more about that later.
Yes, Bokbola.
Hello everyone, my name is Paul Black. I'm the lead for Secret Network Africa. So basically, Secret Network is a blockchain that focuses on privacy. We emphasize more on control and ownership of your data on the blockchain because we truly believe users should have control over their privacy and their data, which means, giving you back the control, which is the promise of Web3 in the first place. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I mean, for the benefit of many of us that have not understood what blockchain is, Bokbola, I would like you to please tell us what is really blockchain technology.
All right, thank you very much for that. So before I say what the blockchain is, I would love to take us back to the days before the internet. So before the internet, everyone relied on an individual or a single entity to keep records or data. But this was not reliable because we have to trust that one person or that single entity to keep our data safe, secure. And this was not efficient enough, which led to mistrust, missing records, error, and inefficiency and unaccountability. This was what brought to the innovation of the internet, a better way to secure your data and information on the internet. But there was one problem with the data. It was on a centralized server, which means all of our data here are being controlled and being monitored by a centralized server, which means if anything should happen to this server, each and every of our data can be exposed or can be breached or can be used by the bad actors. But this has been worked on, but still, it's not sufficient enough for us to have our data being controlled by a single entity, which brought the innovation of the blockchain technology. So the blockchain technology is a decentralized ledger and distributed ledger that records information, data, and transaction across multiple computers on node in a secure and transparent manner. So basically, what does it mean? It means now our data and transactions are no longer handled by a centralized authority, but rather it's being distributed across multiple nodes, which makes it much more secure, efficient, and one thing which you should take note of, ownership and easy accessibility. So the blockchain brought a lot of applications and infrastructure. But before I go into that, I would love to touch a little bit about some of the core principles of the blockchain, which include decentralization. Because I'm this kind of person, I think we are at the stage in this life, we should be able to have control and ownership of our data on the internet or on the blockchain. We should not have to rely on centralized organizations to hold millions and billions of data around the world. One of the recent events that happened with Uber, whereby there was a data breach on Uber, and over 5 million people data was being exploited. Why? Because it was centralized and owned by a centralized server, which to me is not sufficient enough. But on the blockchain, when this is distributed and owned by everyone, which means everyone can have accessibility to it, it makes it much more secure and reliable and make it minimum for breach. So decentralization is one of the core principles of the blockchain. Also, we have the immutability. Now, we've seen cases whereby people data have been changed, people data have been edited, muted for one reason or the other. But when it comes to the blockchain, immediately the data is uploaded on the blockchain or added to the blockchain, this is impossible for it to be edited, or it is impossible for it to be edited, and it is immutable, which means there is no way you could change it. So talking about that, now we could use the blockchain for things like voting, which means whenever your vote is being casted, there is no way they could manipulate your voting, no, because it's been recorded on the block. And also, the last but not the least, it's the distributed ledger, which means now all these nodes can be shared across all these data can be shared across multiple nodes, and it's not being controlled by a centralized authority or server, making it much more secure and better. So I think this answers the question on what is blockchain.
Yes, thank you very much. And also, I like the fact that you explained much more further, because when blockchain technology is being mentioned, many people are confused with cryptocurrency, not knowing that cryptocurrency is just one of the use cases. There are other use cases of blockchain technology, and we should not go away from this room without understanding the differences. They are not the same. They are just separate several use cases on the blockchain technology. Now, over to you, Brinsley. You are a cybersecurity expert. I'd like to ask, like, what are the use cases that align with the integration of blockchain technology for organization, for government, or for anybody? I mean, what are the use cases that we could touch on?
Okay, so I think I'll start by just giving examples of when perhaps we could have used blockchain. Just around when COVID started, a lot of us who had made an order overseas and it delayed because of COVID restrictions, and you didn't really know where exactly was your whatever purchase stuck at. I see nowadays companies like DHL, Maersk, using blockchain technology to actually manage the shipment process, in the sense that it can even as a stakeholder, you're able to actually track where your shipping documents are and track basically your shipment. So that's the first one. The second one is closer home, especially in this era where we are trying to live healthy. You want to know what is going into the food that you're eating. There's a route in my home country where you pass and you get very, very nice carrots, very ripe. But when you buy them and you eat them, someone will tell you, do you know that it was actually grown within sewage in that area? So the whole point for blockchain in this particular case would be there are countries where you can be able to actually track the process of the food that you're consuming came from. So from the quality of the seed to what weather conditions were prevalent when it was actually being grown, up to the end. And that can also just be used in terms of blockchain, maintaining the integrity of this data and storing this data so that you as the consumer, you can actually track throughout that crop's life cycle. So that's a use case in, of course, agriculture. And I know you've talked about voting. Voting is a very critical part. Again, any process that requires numbers, that requires you to keep track and also maintain integrity of that, blockchain would come in a lot to help to just assure you of the integrity of the final product. So you have voting systems, and I know Estonia as a government is really using blockchain in very unique ways. So those are some of the fewer areas. I have seen, especially in healthcare, where you want records, storage of records to be confidential, integrity of storage of this information. There is one use case I've seen that's leveraging on IoT and blockchain, whereby it's a vaccine company that has designed refrigerators that stores vaccines that have sensors within it. So the integrity of the temperature, humidity, basically all the environmental factors that might affect the vaccine are sensed and stored within the sensor, and that information is stored within the blockchain platform. So they've found a way of integrating a number of these technologies for them.
All right, so that means in a nutshell, there are several use cases where we can apply blockchain.
Definitely.
Thank you. And Paul Black, talking about securing cryptocurrency, which is very much important towards our money. Though we don't know where it's coming from and where it's going. But we'd like to understand what are the security challenges that are associated with this cryptocurrency issue, hacking and several other cases as well.
All right, thank you. So regarding that, including the traditional finance system, there is always fraud, hacking, and security challenges. Same thing applies to the blockchain ecosystem. So we have attacks such as phishing, which include people, duplicating a website, scamming people. Also, we have issue of centralization. If you notice, earlier this year or last year, the breakdown of FTX, this costs billions of dollars because it was all put into a centralized hands or organization, which is not very, very secure and safe for a user, which is why it's very important for a user to make use of decentralized wallets or tools. So also one of the issues we have with the blockchain is lack of privacy, because privacy is a very important factor. And people think the blockchain is private. No, it's not. The blockchain encourage or promote anonymity, which means everyone can interact with the blockchain without revealing your true identity. But once this wallet is connected to a centralized exchange or a centralized server, it means you've been doxed, because on a centralized server, your information or data is being uploaded there, which makes it easy for bad actors to easily track you. And of course, if you are the type that have lots of funds and you've exposed your wallet to the public, this puts an attack on your head or in your bag. Now let's talk about the issue of the Bored Ape, Bored Ape NFT. Yeah. Earlier this year, the Bored Ape NFT was hacked and over $12 million was stolen. Why do you think it was possible? Because each and everyone knows the wallet that owns each and every of these Bored Ape NFT, which makes it easy for this attacker to be able to strategize those who they are attacking. They know the wallets that own this NFT and they could go over and attack them. But in a situation whereby there's privacy, whereby everything is not public, you have the choice to make these things private, just like your financial data records, your assets, and other things, making it private, whereby it's only you and just probably the government knows about all these things. But on the blockchain case, this is public to everyone. Just by having anyone's wallet address here, I could check out your transaction history from the very first day you make use of the blockchain. And not just that, I could see each and everything you've owned on the blockchain. I could see each and every of these different applications you've interacted with and every other thing you've been doing. So I think this is also a security challenge if you look at it. But people having the choice to make this in private or public makes it very, very minimal for people to be targeted or for scam fraud to exist in a much more frequent manner as it is now. So basically, I think those are some of the major challenges being faced by crypto.
Because I'm sure many people in the audience that are in support of private blockchain, like IBM, Hyperledger, and several other blocking framework, might not able to agree with you to some extent that some information is public. What about the example of Monero and Dash as well? But again, I guess you're going to give us a separate lecture on how secure that.
There should be compliances.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, thank you. So, Brinsil, I know you have a very interesting story as far back as during COVID-19 when you just got into blockchain, now focusing on cryptocurrency. I'm sure many of us have some similar story like that, and I feel they can learn some lesson. May not be from you. I mean, everybody has a friend or a family that fall into any of these funny happenings around cryptocurrency, but would like to please tell us the story around blockchain and specifically the crypto part.
Okay, I'm not sure if it's funny though, but I think around 2017, that's when I started this whole cryptocurrency business. I was introduced by my colleague, and I think at that point, because I don't know when it really started, but that's when we actually then got to understand what it was. It actually felt like an opportunity for us to invest in something that can triple or quadruple our investment. So I think around at that time, we had Bitcoin, we had Ethereum, we had Neo, Ripple, quite a number of these cryptocurrencies. My preferred choice, of course, by being limited by my pocket, was Ethereum and Neo. So when you look at how these currencies have fared on, you realize in 2017, around late 2017, like Ethereum was about $600, Neo was about $30. Just mid of 2018, I think all of them went to, if I'm not wrong, below $100, and for Neo it was even worse. When you look at the trend even now, I think Ethereum has tried, but when you look at Neo, it's nowhere even near the top 10. coins. But that's not even the biggest part. During that time, there used to be a lot of currencies that came up when you looked at coin market cap. So basically what was happening is that anytime Donald Trump tweets something, the currencies keep fluctuating. Or Elon Musk has done this, the currency keeps fluctuating. So for us who wanted to really invest and capitalize on this, what we were doing is we were looking for those currencies that were coming out of China, for example. None of them even exist at this point. So you find a currency that goes, it's probably, let's say, $10. The next 10 minutes, it's $20. The next 10 minutes, it's probably $5. So you want to align yourself such that you buy it when it's $5, you sell it when it's $10. So that's the game we try to play. But unfortunately, and this is maybe the key learnings, because when you look at even the coins that are currently available, some of them are still scams. So that's just an example of a scam. It keeps going up and down, and you buy with the hope of course, buying and selling at the right time. So that was the number one mistake. And the key learning actually for me from that point was, if you are to invest in crypto, I think look for those ones that are backed by known brands or people or technologies that you know have use cases even in different countries. But also the stability of it, because when you look at like Ethereum, Bitcoin, if the fluctuation is also too high, it's also not a good indicator, especially if you're looking at it short term. So if it's long term, probably it would make sense, because if you look at Ethereum, $600, and now it's about $1,200 and something, within the period of about 6 years, then maybe it makes sense. But for those who are looking for short term, don't fall into the scam of getting the coins that are less than $1, and then they spike up to $10 after that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I'm sure during those times they will be saying you should buy the dip and sell the
Sell at the bull market.
Yeah, about those that came to the market will buy the high. And
Yeah.
Sell low.
To be honest, at that point, I felt like I was smarter than everyone. I was like, you'll see. But yeah.
Thank you. So, Pobla, can you tell us, can you highlight the best practices in terms of securing cryptocurrencies?
Okay, so the mistake I made before I came into the Web3 space or cryptocurrency space was I didn't get enough education before I went in. I only went in based on the hype, As our 2020, as she said, there was a lot of hype then, and all of us were just we were just getting into it just to make the money. So I didn't take my time to make proper education, educate myself, and know the necessary things I need to do before getting to this space. So one of the most important things before you start investing or before you get into this space, you need to educate yourself. There are lots of places you could get these educational resources on YouTube and several other means. So one of the major things is to always do your own research. Before investing into a cryptocurrency or a token, you have to do your own research. Like she said, what are the use cases of the project? What is backing that project? Who are the founders? Are they people that are popularly known? Are they people with great KPIs? If not, you shouldn't invest. And of course, always invest what you can afford to lose. Also, I always advise people, you should not interact with centralized exchanges or centralized tool. If any tool or any exchanges or any project is centralized, I would advise anyone to not fully interact with it. Or if you need to interact with it, it should not be on probably full term. It could be just maybe some funds you need for temporary purpose. But when it comes to your full funds or something you need for a long term, it should not be kept in the centralized wallet, because the issue of FTX has taught people a very hard lesson. Billions were lost. People lost a lot of money because it was all on a centralized exchange. But in a situation whereby all your coins or tokens are on a decentralized wallet or a tool, it's much more safer and secure. It means your funds, your own money. There's this slangs we normally use. So far, as long as you are putting your funds or your tokens in a centralized exchange, it's not your token, it's not your fund. It belongs to the owner.
All right.
So,
thank you.
that's it. Thank you very much.
Just lastly with Brincey, we like to talk about regulation. I mean, it's not only loan to blockchain, but also every other new technology coming into place. One very big concern is about the regulation issue. So talking about the blockchain regulation, what are your perspective on how best can we have a proper blockchain regulation? Can you even tell us about the current situation right now? Then we can profile what can we discuss around regulation of blockchain.
Okay. I think my thoughts are, when I read a study by a company called Chainalysis.
Chain analysis.
Yes, and they were saying Africa is like the second fastest growing when it comes to crypto, blockchain, and the fact that Kenya, Nigeria, and I think South Africa are also very active in this space. So in terms of regulation, I think there is space for regulation because like any other technology, there are people who are very vulnerable to scams, they're vulnerable to lack of awareness. So I think regulation would come in place to ensure that not so many people fall victim to such scams. In Kenya, for example, there's just been a release on WorldCoin, basically where you can have your iris scanned and then it's used as part of your digital ID. So they've issued actually an advisory saying that people should not actually do that. So I think there has to be some room for government regulation, especially for the vulnerable groups. And here I'm talking about, I'm not even worried about myself. I'm worried about my mother or someone going to my mother, Pop going to my mother and telling her to invest in crypto, and she loses all her investment, all her money, basically. So I think there is room, but the bigger goal would be for regulation to really be at par with technology, not necessarily to be hindering it. I know, like Ethiopia, Tanzania, it's fully banned when you look at crypto. In Kenya, people are trading. People are on different platforms. So I think having that balance is also important to ensure that we are not stifling innovation.
Okay, thank you very much. As we close for this panel, for me, I have three biggest takeaways. First is, of course, blockchain is not cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency is not blockchain. And second thing, that we have several use cases as well in terms of blockchain technology. And the last thing is that we should make sure we try as much as possible to secure our cryptocurrencies that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Please let's appreciate our panelists, both Black and Brinsey, for contributing to this panel. Thank you very much.